You are listening to The UNglamorous Life. I'm Celeste.
I'm Laurin.
And this is our very first episode of the UNglamorous Life podcast. And we kind of just wanted to lay it all out there, let you guys know why we're doing this podcast, who we are, what we're about, and basically what you can get out of it.
Why you should listen to us, why we're credible. Moving forward, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, but we wanted to do the first one on just kind of our stories and how we got where we are and kind of our career paths.
And just who the fuck we are.
Who the fuck we are, why you should listen to us.
I swear you should listen to us.
Really, you should.
So I guess a little bit about me. I started a career in the WWE. I was a professional wrestler, which is
so badass.
it's a really good icebreaker in most conversations. Or if I have to do some sort
You're
of
like, I can fucking beat you up.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I can fake fight you, but you have to like go along with it. So no, it's like a great conversation starter. Or if I have to do some type of like terrifying public speaking event, I kind of start with that to kind of be an icebreaker, I guess, and just kind of grab people's attention, just grab them by the balls.
You're just like grabbing a ball.
I'm like making this motion like I'm grabbing them by the balls. Anyways, so I had this like really cool career for 4 years, and I traveled the world. I was champion. I made some history, actually. Like I was part of the first female contract signing ever. You know how they do contract signings before really big pay-per-views or title matches and stuff? There had never been an all-female contract signing. So so it made history, and I just had a fucking cool-ass career. And then I learned a lot of really amazing life lessons in that career. And, it's on television, and it's, worldwide, and it looks like this extremely glamorous lifestyle. It's show business, but there were so many things behind the scenes that I learned about life and just stuff that I can share with you that you would not believe. Anyways, it kind of just helps me be the person I am today. And I applied a lot of the lessons that I learned in that career to, my path now. So when I retired from WWE, I left kind of abruptly, and I got married, and I started a company called Celestial Bodies. It's a women's fitness apparel company, and I design all the pieces myself. And so I kind of transitioned from being this person like on TV with, performing in front of thousands and thousands of people live, and, people at home on television, just living this crazy adrenaline filled life, to starting a business and working from home and not knowing anything about what I was doing. So fast forward a few years, I ended up going through a really crazy divorce and a stint of drug and alcohol addiction. And I kind of woke up one day and realized that I wanted to change my life. And so I did. And that was the beginning of 2017, which I call my personal renaissance. And so I've kind of had this epiphany where I've looked back at my life, when I was wrestling, and when I was super, super passionate about it, what I went through and what did I learn, and how can I apply it to my life now after all these life changes in this new direction, and being a woman entrepreneur and an influencer and all those things. So I feel like I have a good amount of experience to kind of share and help people that are in certain or similar situations that I've been in before, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you have I would say, so much life lessons to teach people in like a wide variety of topics, which is why you wanted to start this podcast. And that's why when you brought it to me, like, hey, I want to do this, I was like, okay, we definitely need to do this, because I think that both of us talk very openly about things. So like if we've gone through something, we don't mind talking about it. Like there's nothing really to like hide. Like we're very transparent. So that's why when you came to me with this idea, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like we both really don't give a fuck. Like if we have been through something and we can help someone, like we'll talk about it. Like there's no shame basically in what we want to talk about.
We're shameless.
We're shameless.
But it's because we are open enough and realize that, if you have gone through something that affected you deeply or changed you or helped you grow in some way, that, hey, it's kind of your responsibility to try to spread a message and spread awareness about something. And there's going to be stuff that we talk about that's like super deep and like tough to talk about. And then there's other stuff that's just kind of funny and stupid and whatever. But it's kind of like an array of things that we want to share and talk about, and even day-to-day stuff, you know, like.
Yeah, for sure. Like we don't want it to be like under one specific topic. Like we're going to talk about a bunch of different things because we both have businesses. We both have had obviously like personal relationship things that we've gone through. That's like friends too, like just in general, like relationship stuff. We've just, I don't know, different things, health, fitness, like we're both involved in that. Like there's a bunch of different topics that definitely has a other unglamorous side to it that we want to help people out with. And that's the biggest thing. Like anytime either of us, I feel like, post something on social media that's like open and honest and transparent, like people love that. And that's really what our goal is here, to like educate and to obviously entertain, but just like bring awareness to stuff.
Right. And you are actually already have an existing podcast called Redefine Healthy.
Redefine Healthy Radio. So I got basically me and Paul, who meet, like we do it together. I still can't figure out if we're like both hosts or if we're co-hosts together, because like we both talked, like, you know what I mean? Like it's not really like a
both co-hosts.
We're both co-hosts because that's how that works.
Right. I don't know. Let's Google that later.
Regardless, we both talk on this podcast, and he came to me and was like, we just always have these really good conversations. Like we should just put it in a podcast. And I was like, fuck, like we should. And like that's really easy for me to talk about because it's all things like health, fitness, psychology, that kind of realm, business, like in that. And like I can talk about that with my eyes closed, like half asleep, like it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? This is like pushing me out of my comfort zone, which is like exciting, like trying to like add personal development here. So a little bit of background on me, which is why our podcast is easy for me to talk about. I have my bachelor's and my master's in exercise science. So I was a science nerd for growing up.
You still are.
Still I am. Nerd. Okay, yeah. Actually, I wasn't really into science stuff when I was in high school, but I like really actually took the minimum science classes, and then I got to graduate to school.
There's a very loud lawnmower outside, but we're gonna keep pretending like it's not there.
I think it's gonna go away, but I just got really distracted. I also have terrible squirrel brain. Like I was like, what is that noise? I can't talk.
No, she does. I was very worried that she was going to get off track. It's talking about lawn care.
School, lawns. Oh my God, lawnmowers. So anyways, so I have my bachelor's, my master's, like I said, in exercise science. And I like developed this interest in science and scientific thinking as I got older. I did my research in my master's in like different types of dieting behaviors and like how that affects weight loss and weight regain. And at this time I was already coaching a few people. So it was basically like I was coaching a little bit, and then I took on like my research. And so that was basically like more clients. And so I've always been really interested in this kind of like coaching client interaction, and that just kind of developed. And that's what I do now full time is I coach people, all online, but that's what I do full time. So since my undergrad, I've been like developing that kind of as my business, and it was really, really small to start, obviously. And then it's kind of grown each year. And I've also been competing since 2011. So I've always been interested, in competing, and just, I've always been interested in like training and like your body, and like stemming from like I had an eating disorder, so I was like hyper focused on that like growing up. And then I became like more like interested in like in a healthy way, and then I found competing, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I started competing in 2011, and I've been doing that ever since. And I'm actually an IFBB bikini pro, so if anyone's familiar with competing, that is the highest ranking, quote unquote. There's not really, like it's not like I'm in the NFL or anything, but right. It's like the NFL for bikini girls.
The NFL for bikini girls. I'm gonna
for people who don't know what it is, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this girl talking about? But if you guys follow anything, this is basically the professional league that you try to attain. So,
sorry to interrupt you, but that's gonna happen a lot. I think that
you're like, you explained that terribly.
No, I just wanted to add something to it, is because you have all this experience with competing. Most people that aren't in the industry or haven't ever been a fitness competitor or bikini competitor, whatever it is, before, they only see the final product on stage. Like what you work for months and months and months, and you see the final product on stage, and it's just like amazing and incredible and admirable and glamorous, for lack of a better word. But you are here, and I really think it would be so helpful especially for those portion of people that are listening that are into fitness, that want to know about competing or are competitors, for them to know the really like tough shit behind the scenes that you go through and that you put yourself through mentally, physically, emotionally, the shit that you attack your boyfriend for just because you're hungry, just stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll do a whole podcast on that, or probably multiple with like the different things.
We should bring your boyfriend on. We should bring Rye on.
Yes.
So he can like give a testimonial.
He's very funny too, so you guys will like him. Literally competing is probably the most unglamorous thing because the actual competition is so overdone. It's basically like a beauty pageant with muscles, but the whole process getting to there, I mean, it literally takes years of work, and all of the like the shit leading up to it is just so unglamorous. Even like the day before, like getting the tan and like there's just all this stuff. Like we'll go into all of it, but yeah, it's a whole weird world, and if you guys are interested in it, there's a lot to learn for sure before like diving right in, I think. And just being aware, like it's not going to change, but you just like need to know this stuff, and then people are like, oh wow, this is actually like helpful. Now I know what I'm getting myself into. Because I think a lot of people see, like you said, the end product, and they're like, oh, I should do that, and then nobody prepares them for really like what's going to happen. And then they
it can
either
be detrimental to your mental state, and if you don't do it right, your body as well.
Yes. Which is why I'm also a coach, and I try to work on all that. You know what I mean? Because like there is so much that goes into it, like not only physically but also mentally, with competing and just how extreme it is. So we can talk about all those things. So I try to really blend science and application together as a competitor and a coach and a scientist myself. So that's kind of my background. For now, I focus on mostly the business. I have another podcast. We have this podcast. I try to do traveling and seminars, and just have like a bunch of different little things that I have. But the ultimate goal is to like push a positive message and really to like teach people, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to learn within like health and fitness space.
And so the difference is, I mean, there's obviously a ton of differences and similarities between us, but one of the major differences is you're formally educated, right? So you have your master's. Mm-hmm. So that right there is...
I know most people wouldn't believe that, but
for fuck's sake, I don't even know how that happened.
Remember in Vegas, we were like joking, like Ryan's like, you need to like bring it around on like a laminated card. Like, no, listen guys, I really do have a master's, I promise.
It's laminated because you're messy too, and you know it have like coffee and shit all over it. No, and my point is that you're formally educated and you are credible because you've done the work, and you know your shit and you live it, right? So you don't just preach it, you live it. And so that is something that's so like valuable in today's society, because a lot of people are quote unquote coaches or whatever.
Air quotes.
Yeah, giant exaggerated air quotes. But for me, it's a little bit different. Most of my, like, I'm not formally educated. I didn't finish school. I got thrown into the WWE at a very young age with no experience. And so everything that I've done in my life has kind of been like, oh shit, I'm not ready, but I'm going to do it. So that's kind of like what I bring to the table, is this do or die mentality that I kind of developed and came from like an unconventional family, and was never the person that was like, okay, here's what you have to work with. I kind of just like was like, well, fuck it, and just did stuff like, going to wrestle, and then just leaving that job and be like, fuck it, I'm going to start a business, and not knowing anything about business and just learning things as I go. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing I have to offer is just the mentality of fuck it, just do it. And if you fail, fine. Like, it's only going to make you better in the long run, and you're going to learn from the reason that you failed or the multitude of reasons why. And it just makes you like a more well-rounded, educated or person, whether it's formal education or not, or it's just life experience.
Yeah. And that weighs so heavily in it. Like, I feel like you need to have both. And if you only focus on one, then you're really lacking obviously in the other. And that's something that both of us do, is we continuously try to like self-develop in like different ways, whether it's like business or like personal. We're always trying to like learn new things, and like, just because I graduated with X doesn't mean that I stopped learning there, right? Like I've probably learned more now outside of school in just different areas. You know what I mean? Like there's just stuff that like life experience and like forcing yourself to teach yourself is like business. Like neither of us have a business background. I sure as fuck don't have a business background. Like thankfully I have like my mom who's like awesome, who's like a banker.
Your mom's the shit. We're gonna have her on too.
Yeah, she's like a really good business person, so she's been able to like help me. But for the most part, it's just been like, and I understand that like I don't have like a very complicated business, so it's not like I'm running this like multi-billion-dollar company with like 500 employees. Like it's a very small, like I'm a, what's it called? Solopreneur? How do you say solo? Whatever. Fuck. The thing where like you just work for yourself and you're the only person in the business. So I understand it's like a completely different scale, but like we're still always learning stuff. So we can talk about that too. Like stuff that, you know, coming from no real formal background, we've learned these things, and like you guys can too.
I did. And don't even discredit yourself, because I started there too. Like I started my company with just me. Like I literally did everything from the customer service to the designs to the purchase orders to the shipping to literally everything. And then I slowly grew. And then, you know, to be fair, I had like, we'll call him my partner, who's my ex-husband, who was there to help along the way, you know, with finances and just like what, you know, what he had learned from his business. And so that was kind of like, I had a little bit of help there, but I was still trying to learn things on my own and make decisions for myself. And so going from business into this, I always like to overdo segues and like say that I'm making a segue. So like to segue from business to,
you have like a Rubik's Cube in your hand, like an invisible, like my segue.
Yeah, I should see my hand movements. I'm out of control. But for me, because they're so tightly connected, because when I left the WWE, started Social Bodies, I was so deeply tied in business with my partner, the person I was married to. And so when it came time for me to say, okay, I'm ready to get a divorce, it was extremely complicated to separate my business and like my livelihood and how I was going to, you know, continue on my own without this marriage. It was so complicated. And it was kind of this learning from scratch how to do stuff again, completely on my own, which has been such a crazy, immense form of growth for me, just self-growth, realizing like I am capable of doing these things on my own, because along with, you know, talking about relationships, which is something that we're going to talk about probably regularly, because, you know, whether they're romantic or not, you know, friendships, whatever, we all have relationships. And for me, I feel like I am an expert at this point in evolving with coming from a very traumatic, unhealthy relationship and learning yourself again and being able to like be a butterfly, you know, and to emerge from this cocoon, because I really did. And one of the things I wanted to like kind of dive into when we specifically have an episode where we talk about relationships, I want to talk about or shine a light on the importance of how detrimental abuse can be. And it might not be physical abuse, but like mental and emotional abuse are so serious, and they can change who you are and make you feel like you're nothing. And not a lot of people credit those as forms of abuse, because I don't think that there's not enough people talk about it, because it's hard to talk about. Some people never pull themselves out of it. And the people that do maybe aren't willing to talk about it. But for me, it's been such a huge step, or, you know, a bunch of steps in the right direction for me to kind of pull myself out of this weird, emotionally bad place I was in from my marriage. And so I feel like that could really be something that I could sit down and talk about for.
You're like, we have a 6-part podcast just on this.
But that's something that's extremely close to me, because obviously it affected me so deeply. But I'm also working right now to become an advocate for overcoming addiction and different forms of abuse in domestic relationships. So I'm working on that. I actually have a cool opportunity tomorrow to go visit a rehab facility and kind of work on how I can be an advocate for them, and kind of put our brains together to figure out some kind of program or campaign with them for addiction. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
I'm like a little nervous. Like it's a little out of my comfort zone, but I'm excited. So
that was kind of our intro of why the fuck you should listen to us, what you can expect from us. And like I said, this is going to be something that our goal is to educate and entertain and enlighten, empower, all the E words that you can imagine. Everything's like an E. Why is
I don't know.
say another word without an E?
Shit. Educated.
Grow some balls. We're going to say that. Fuck.
So, okay. To summarize, to use all the E's. So, well, okay, we're going to come back to the E's, but the main reason, the underlying reason we wanted to do it is because not enough people talk about the real shit.
Yes.
And we don't give a fuck. So we're going to talk about the real shit, and we don't have any shame. So, and we hope that you guys can relate to that and appreciate that and realize that we are normal people that go through all this fucked up stuff, and here's how we overcome it, and here's how we've become better from it. And Laurin was very specific about wanting to give life hacks.
Because here's like, how can I trust this girl? But I feel like that's a good word.
It is. No.
Okay.
You gave me a really good example last night. What was it?
What?
Do you remember?
No.
I don't remember either. We were like laying on her
It's
couch.
obviously a terrible life hack then.
If I didn't remember it. But life hacks, stuff that we've learned or learned from, people in our lives or whatever that we would want to share. Just basically talking about the good, the bad, the ugly
And the unglamorous.
and the unglamorous. And then, sorry, we should have ended on that, but I kind of just wanted to come back to the 3 E's: educate, entertain, encourage, and then how to grow a set of balls. Thank you for listening to The Unglamorous Life.
Please subscribe to the podcast and leave us any feedback.
Go to celestialbodies.com.
And laurinconlin.com.
And remember, life is unglamorous.
Hey now, baby, where have you gone? I'm looking in places, but I keep guessing wrong.